This is the Mini Town Bicycle Series, video number 5. In the last video, we started building the front wheel and had to stop due to the spokes being too long. But we did manage to get the seat tube welded to the bottom bracket shell. In this video, we're gonna thread some spokes and finish up the front wheel, and then end things off by making the head tube bottom and top fixture caps. Welcome back, let's get started. Okay, so I've got my spoke threader here, and I've made a few modifications to this, and that's what these 3D printed parts are all about. Alright, so the first modification, I took this for a little test run and I threaded one spoke. This isn't the spoke. This is just a test spoke to demonstrate one of the problems I found with this. And it's actually illustrated in the instruction manual, and that is, when you put a spoke through here, you've got to, this tightens and loosens the chuck. So by the time you get it loose enough, the spoke can sit and seat itself down into the edge of the chuck. So just like that, it can sit right into the edge and get stuck, and you don't want to tighten it that way. And so I need to thread 64 of these, and I'm not going to want to go in there and monkey around with this every single time. So what I did is I printed this little guy. This will sit right on here. And what that does is, no matter how loose this is, it ensures that my spoke, let me loosen it some more. My spoke comes in right at the right spot, and I can tighten it. I can tighten it down without worrying about it not seating properly. Then the other part I made is, because I need to thread this about 5 millimeters, and I need to do, like I said, a whole bunch of these. So I've created this jig. This sits right in here. And I have this part right here. And this comes in right here. And this is a little knob that it was just a plastic part, and you press a 1/4-20 socket cap screw in here. I got these because I was curious. I thought they would be bigger, but they're actually pretty small, and so I'll use it for this project. And I've got this sitting right here, and that will tighten down my little jig. There, so that holds it in place to wherever I end up needing it. And so this goes in here. So I'll adjust this to be the correct length. This guy sits right like this, and it basically measures out for me where the spoke needs to be. I've got this one threaded. I've done two just to check the consistency, and it looks like they're pretty consistent. This one's coming in at 191, which is what I ordered it at. I need it to come in at 185, which is right here. And that leaves me 10 millimeters of thread, which is about right. You want just a bit over 10, and this is just a bit over 10 thread. So I will do the rest of these, and then I will cut off 5 mil at the end. Now I need to cut all these spokes, and so what I've done is I made a jig for that as well. I 3D printed these parts, and this sits right in here. This is just a Park Tool cutter, and it cuts like so. So this can be adjusted, it can be moved back and forth. All right, so I grabbed the rim to start building the wheel, and I actually noticed it's bent. I got these rims from Newegg, of all places. I didn't know they sold bike parts. And there's like zero chance that I caused this to happen. I'm very careful. You guys see how I do all my stuff in the shop. So yeah, it most likely arrived this way. So that got me thinking I better check the other rim. So I checked the other one. And this also has a bend in it. It's not quite as extreme, but it's definitely there. Otherwise, the rest of it looks okay, and they seem pretty straight otherwise. So I'm gonna try to straighten this off camera because I'm just not in the mood. This is kind of... All right, I wasn't expecting to be doing this tonight, but here we are. All right, so I've got this. I've got this in the vise. I have my leather soft jaws on here. I've got another piece of leather here. I've already straightened it, but I figured I'd show you guys how I did this. And of course, you don't want to put too much pressure on the jaws this way either. You don't want to damage it. So I just grabbed my little adjustable, and I just kind of gave it a little nudge like that until it straightened it out as much as I think I'm comfortable with without screwing it up. Okay, so this was the first side. I gave it a mark with a Sharpie so I could see where it was bent from before. And if I lay it down flat here, you can see it's pretty flat now, pretty straight. I think it'll be all right. And then for the other one, I marked this one as well. And this wasn't quite as bad as that one. And that's not perfect, but I think that's all right too. So the saving grace in all this is these are gonna be disc brakes. So, okay, so I finally got this wheel built. So it's about as good as it's gonna get with this rim. So I ended up cutting a whole nother set of spokes, and I basically wasted a whole set because the last set I cut too short. I took 5 millimeters off, and it turned out I only needed to cut 2 millimeters and 1 millimeter off of the spokes that were at 191 millimeters. So I ran the measurements through the calculator again. So the drive side is 190, and the non-drive side ended up being 189. So what happened was I didn't trust the calculator, and I should have trusted the calculator. In most cases, you're going to be off by 1 or 2 millimeters, which is not a huge deal. And what happened with the last time is I jumped the gun, and what I did was, if you saw my last video, I tightened two sides adjacent to each other. And what I ended up doing was, and not realizing it, is I tightened it, and what it did is it squished the rim like this, and it made it appear like I had more space on either end than there actually was. So I learned from that, and now I know that when you're testing your spokes, you're not going to get a true read until you've tightened all of the spokes, or at least a cross pattern of the spokes. Anyway, I ordered another set. Yep, I gotta stop here as far as the wheel build. This one's done, and the other wheel will just have to wait till I get the other set of spokes. So we're gonna move on to the head tube, and I need a way to hold this onto the fixture. I'm gonna use some steel for the bottom cap, and then I might cut a cone for the top. I'm not quite sure. I do want to keep this build similar to that of someone who doesn't have like a lathe and all that sort of stuff. But for the sake of speed, I'll probably will machine part or turn some part of the caps on the lathe. So one of you guys mentioned in the comments of using one of these to get my initial cut of the plate that I need to cut. So this looks big enough. This is probably cutting it too close. No pun intended. Actually, that's probably going to be all right. It's it's a 38 millimeter. The hell? Ah, there it is. Set a thing on there. Okay, here's my pieces, and this one will fit on the bottom. It'll fit on the bolt like this, and there will be two nuts holding this for the bottom piece. So for the top actually goes down onto the head tube like this. I'm going to need to connect this to hold it on there. I'm going to use silicone bronze and TIG braze these onto here. Alright, so I managed to get it down in there. I started to melt the edge a little, but I managed to stop myself in time. Alright, let's see about getting this thing on there. So this guy goes on the bottom, and then this guy. So I need to secure this. Oh no. Fortunately, you only need to do this once. And the top. So I'm gonna need to make a quick release nut, but I've run out of time and the weekend's over, so I'm gonna need to stop here. But I'll just thread this on here just so you guys can get the idea of how this should look. Alright, we're gonna have to stop here. I ran out of time and the weekend is over. There just aren't enough hours in the weekend. I wasn't expecting the huge fiasco with the wheel. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and sorry we didn't get to miter tubes and work on the main triangle, but we hopefully will get to that in the next video. I'll see you guys later. Peace.